If you've ever wondered how to create titles like lower thirds in Davinci Resolve, then stay tuned, as in this video I'm going to show you how to create some fast and simple titles such as lower thirds in Davinci Resolve using the built-in tools. And I'm also going to introduce you to MotionVFX, who provide a massive range of supported plugins for Davinci Resolve, and we're going to take a look at some of their excellent pre-built titles and typography bundles, which make the whole process of creating professional animated titles in Davinci Resolve incredibly fast and effortless. So, when you're ready, let's jump on in. Okay, so here we are in Davinci Resolve 19 Beta 3. So just to let you know, that's the one I'm using. So hopefully your interface looks a little bit like this. And we've just got a basic edit open in the edit page, and the timeline's there just in front of us. And what we want to do is put some basic titles on. So what I'm just going to do is just mute this audio so we don't hear it for the time being. And we want to put a little title just here to show who this is that we're now sort of seeing on the screen. So let's go about putting on a basic title first. So all of your titles and things like that live up here in the effects. So as you can see there, effects, we're just going to click him and it opens up a new panel. And in fact, in this case, I'm going to hide the media pool by clicking on it. Now you can see that it's not in white, it's grayed out, meaning it's not showing. So effects is showing, and we've now got the full effect palette open just here. So we're going to go to titles, because that's obviously where our titles live. So we're going to go to titles, and you see by default we've got this section just here, which is our title section that are the sort of built-in standard titles with Davinci Resolve. We also have this section just underneath, which is our Fusion titles, and these are also native titles that have been built in Fusion, which is the sort of graphic VFX and animation side of Davinci Resolve. So we'll come to those in just a bit. For now, I want to concentrate on just a couple of different titles that we've got here. First of all, we have this text plus effect, and we can just use that by simply dragging it down onto the timeline, letting it fill the full duration of our shot on the screen. And then as you can see, I've got text up here. I'm just going to click to select it, and you can actually double click the text in the window and then start making some changes. So I know that this chap is called Chris Lang, so I'm just going to quickly and simply get rid of some of this, and there we go. I've very easily created a title. And what's cool is I can also drag this to the right place as well, somewhere like that, but I'm going to need to fine tune this slightly. So I'm going to open up my inspector, which is in the top right. Let's open up the inspector, and you can see I've got some more settings here. So I'm just going to make sure I've got that spelled correctly. I can change the font if I want to. Let's find something that we quite like the look of. This looks nice. And I'm just going to reposition it ever so slightly just to be a little bit more precise. There we go, something like that. Brilliant. Well, that's a really nice start, but I might need to also put in another line just to show who he is. So let's come up to the rich text, press enter, put in another line. So in this case, he is the founder, I'm going to put that in capitals, of Organ Mountain Outfitters. Cool. So with that in place, I can now select this line, and I can independently size this and change the font if I want to. And this is because it's a rich text format. This is quite unique to this particular text effect. So this is really good. I could just size this down a little bit because I don't want it to be quite so big. I actually want the alignment of everything to be left. So I'm just going to click left, making sure nothing's selected there so they both get affected. And I'm just going to then reposition ever so slightly. And there we go. We've created a very basic and very simple text. As you can see, I've got a whole range of other parameters that I could change if I wanted to. I can even add drop shadow, background, and all sorts of that good stuff. So why don't we just put a small background on this? Now, by default, you'll see it's actually turned on. That's what this little toggle suggests here, that it's turned on. But at the moment, you'll see that the height is turned down to 0, which is why we can't see anything. So if I just increase the height, you can see we get our background coming into play. And I can also affect the width as well a little bit. I don't need it quite so big. And maybe I just want to move it a little bit offset. So I just want to center this a little bit differently. There we go. And I'm just moving the background independent of the text at this point, which is really helpful. And I can change the opacity like so. And maybe I just want to change the color, make it a bit more exciting. There we go. Something like that. Maybe keeping it on brand. So there we go. We've created a very, very simple title, which we can now animate if we'd like to. And we can do that in a couple of different ways. Of course, the most basic and simple animation to do with this would be to simply have it fade on and fade off screen. The cool thing is we can some really nice built-in fade handles, which are these little white chaps here on the actual clip itself. All we have to do is simply drag that out, and you'll see we get a little tooltip telling us how long we're dragging that out for. So maybe a second on either end. Of course, you may not want it to fade out before it goes straight to the next clip, but let's have a look at what that looks like. Really simple. And I told you it was going to be basic and simple using some of the built-in features. So there we go. Very simple way of quickly animating something in like that. Let's say we want to get rid of the fade handles. We could, of course, keep the fade handles. That's absolutely fine. But let's say we wanted to try something a little bit different. Maybe it just has to pop on and pop off the screen. Well, we can do that a few different ways. We can either keyframe it, or we can just use some of the built-in transitions that are already part of Davinci Resolve. So I'll show you the keyframes very quickly, and then we'll get onto the transitions, because I think that speeds things up even more. So let me just show you what we mean. Let me fast forward this by about a second. Now I can do this by pressing the plus key, and then 1, and then a period to enter 1 second. You can see that just showing up here in the top right, just there. Just there. And I'm going to hit enter, and that's going to jump me forward exactly a second. So now I'm here, I'm going to make a keyframe with my position. So you can see just over here, we have this little diamond, which indicates our keyframes. I'm just going to turn it on at this point to make a keyframe and to activate our keyframing. And then I'm going to come back to the beginning, and I'm just going to have this animate on the X-axis off screen, like so. Perfect. And as you can see, it animates on, and then we can repeat that process to have it animate off as well. Perfect. So very basic animation, as I said, but really simple and actually quite quick to achieve. If I really wanted to, what I could also do is come to my keyframes, like so, right click on the actual keyframe itself and choose ease out, go to the next one, right click, choose ease in. I could choose ease in and out if I wanted to. So I'm going to just put ease in on this one. And as you can see, what will happen now is I get a little bit of easing as well. Now, if you didn't want to do all that, now we can actually use our built-in transitions. So let's come up to video transitions, and you'll see all of our video transitions sitting here in our effects palette. I just want to use a couple of basic ones. So for example, we've got our dissolves and things already, but I want to add this simple push one on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab it, drag it onto my title clip. I'm going to do the same at the end, same thing. And then you can see now it simply pushes on, and then the push off is going to be broken. We don't want that to happen. So what I'm going to do is select it and then just set it to push right. There we go. Now, one thing you sometimes have to do here, it's a bit quirky. Let me just undo that. I'm just going to back it up and now put the push on and then bring it back. And now the push should work. Of course, it's going the wrong way. So let me just change it. Push right. There we go. So now you can see we've got a simple push on. It holds on the screen and then it pushes off when we need it to push off, which is really cool. We can obviously click on the transitions. We can affect all of these different parameters up here if we want to, as well as the easing. So let's have some ease in and out on this as well. There we go. We can also change the transition curve, and we can add a little bit of motion blur as well. So let's just have a look at how it looks. There we go. Pops in, nice bit of easing on it, holds on screen, and then pops out really nicely. So I prefer that. I think it's really, really quick. And actually, once you've built a preset that you like it with these transitions, you can save these as a custom preset that you can use again and again. Really good if you're using it on a project that you need to repeat the same type of transition over and over. So just deleting that for the time being, I'm just going to take this away. I'm going to want to draw your attention to another of the titles. Of course, we've got a pre-built lower third. Now we could absolutely use this as well. We just drag this on and you can see that actually it's already really just saving us a couple of steps, because we've got our rich text for the title and we've got our next rich text for the sample. So we can now, again, change these if we want to, and then obviously do as much or as little formatting as we'd like. For example, I'm just going to do that for the time being. And as you can see, again, we've got independent sizing control. If we want to, we can change the fonts very easily, and it just makes it a little bit easier for us on the whole. Of course, when it comes to repositioning them, you are going to be repositioning them independently, which is one of the sort of slight downsides perhaps, but then you get some other advantages of having them separate as well. So let's just push this over here, and there we go. We've created another quick one there. We've also got the same drop shadows and background options that we had before, so we can easily just make the same amendments that we did and create something that we're quite happy with overall. So there we go. So that's, again, another way. And of course, we can then further animate that if we want to. Another of the titles I just want to draw your attention to is the Text Plus. Now, the Text Plus is actually a fusion text effect that we can now use. And you'll see that if I put this on the text and come up to the inspector, in fact, if I press this little button in the top corner, we just get a full view of this palette on the right. You can see I've already got some slightly different effect controls here. My layout's over here in terms of where I'm positioning, my transform, my shading is all slightly different. And this is just taken directly from the Fusion page, which obviously is very handy because you can create Fusion style effects. And if you need to, you can actually jump straight into Fusion with this clip selected and make sure the playhead's parked over it. You can jump into Fusion and then further make tweaks and controls and benefit from the animation controls that are actually inside Fusion, because they are much better than the standard animation controls and keyframes inside the edit page. Of course, you can get third-party plugins which help you with all of this and what we're going to be looking at in just a sec. But for the time being, again, as I say, it's a custom title there. I can quickly change this. And I'm going to show you a little gotcha with this as well. So there's Chris Lang. He is the founder, as I mentioned before. There we go. And I'm going to reposition him. And I can actually do this by grabbing on the screen, but I have to make sure I'm on the Fusion overlay to do it. There we go, because remember this now effect is essentially a Fusion effect. And I'm just going to reposition that slightly, maybe change the line spacing ever so slightly as well, for example. Now, the big gotcha here is that I cannot, because it's not rich text anymore, I can't independently change it by selecting, for example, the lower part of this text and then changing the size, because it just affects the whole part of the text. So to do this, we do need to jump into Fusion and turn on something called character level styling. So let me just show you what that is. So if I jump into Fusion, there we go, popping into Fusion now, and I've got, you can see my details are here. Perfect. And what I want to do is just quickly change this. Now again, same controls as were in the edit page a second ago, so I can't just select this and make a change. What I have to do is right click in the window box and come to character level styling. Turn that on and you'll notice that a little modifier has actually now opened up. So what I need to do now is go over to modifiers and then on the viewer actually select my text that I want to change, and now I can change it and put it wherever I want. Now I'm going to keep it centrally located just for the time being, but you get the idea. I can change also the style of the font as well. Of course, none of these are working particularly well. There we go. Let's just maybe do something like that. Let's change the anchoring as well ever so slightly. There we go. Okay, so for example, I've made a very quick amendment there as well. Now, if I want to animate this, again, in Fusion, it's much easier to animate in Fusion. So we show you how that works. So for example, there is my text and that's how long it lives on the timeline for. So what I want to do, these are in frames. So I'm going to just move forward to 25 frames per second because that's how many frames 1 second is in my timeline, 25 frames per second. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to come back to the layout side of things. For my center position, I'm going to turn on and make a keyframe. And then I'm going to come back. Of course, what I need to do is make sure it's selected. There we go. So you can see I've got a little white mark here for my keyframe that I've just made. I'm going to slide back to 0 and then making sure I'm in the right place and everything's selected, I'm just going to grab my x-axis and slide it off screen. Wonderful. And then what I'm going to do, come to the end, all the way to the end, and that's right here. And I'm going to make a keyframe again. I'm going to back everything up a second, so I'm going to come back 25 frames or so. So let's go to about, I'll go to about 150 just for making things easy. And I'm going to make another keyframe, and then I'm going to jump to the last keyframe that I made. And again, I'm just going to animate this off the screen, like so. Okay, and now what we should have, if I've done everything correctly, is one that comes on, holds on screen just like we had before, and then animates away. So really simple. That's just going to loop around now. So very simple indeed, and we can take it a little bit further by opening up our spline controls just here. So open the spline controls, and what we're going to do is again making sure our template is selected. Where it's got the displacement, I'm just going to click, and I'm just going to fit that in the view. And what I want to do is select all these points. So that's the point where it comes in, and then again where it goes on as well. And I'm going to select them all. I'm going to press this little button in the bottom for smoothing, like so. In fact, what I'm going to do is select them one at a time. Sorry, so one pair at a time, smooth, and then one pair at a time and smooth. I'm just left clicking and dragging to marquee select those. There we go. If I back that up and play it again for you. So when it comes, it's going to have to do a little render first. Hang on. There we go. So it comes in with a bit of easing. And then again, just eases out nicely as well. So there you go, like so. If I wanted to, I could take more control over these animations and just have it come in much, much quicker, like so. And then the same as well when it goes out. Let's control that a little bit so it's a little bit different. So it has a bit more of a fast and then slows down. There we go. Let me show you that again now. It says have a chance to play. There we go. Quite nice. Let's jump back to the edit page. And you can see that in action. Again, if you have got your render cache turned on in the playback, you'll see this red bar that slowly turns blue as the render starts to get done. And if you want to know where that is, it's playback, render cache, and I've turned mine on to smart. So this now knows it needs to render. So now it's rendered though, we get this. Comes on, stays on screen, and then moves away again. Cool, so we're really happy. We've done a very simple, very basic title using some transitions to help us move it in and out of frame. We could also add a dissolve onto that if we wanted to. We've used the Fusion as well, and the Fusion Text Plus effect to actually get some Fusion stuff going on as well. And that's very, very basic stuff in Fusion. So hopefully you were able to follow along with that. And we've really done, quite a good first go. And you can see how some of these tools are really helpful. Again, let's just take that off, and you can see some of these other titles that are built in. If you have in the ellipsis menu, just up here, turned on Hover Scrub Preview, then as you go over these, you can hover over them and see what all of these different options do. And some of those might suit us really nicely. In fact, there are some lower thirds. So maybe I'll just grab that clean and simple lower third, drop it on here. Now this is a Fusion effect, so let me show you. There we go, sample text, very nice. We can easily make some amendments here to that. Wonderful. So there's our chap there. And we might want to change the color. So why don't we change the color of that little line? So that's more sort of suited in his branding. And see what that looks like. So there we go. Just comes on, stays on screen, and then automatically fades away for us. So that was really quick as well. So I definitely encourage you to have a little play with all of these different ones that come as part of Davinci Resolve. There's some really cool ones that actually look quite nice as well, and you can use them for all sorts of different things. So give those a try. Equally, just notice that there's a little star here in the far right corner, and that just basically shows us it's a favorite. And you can see down here that we have favorites. So if I just pull that up a bit so we can see it better, favorites. So if I was to say this jitter one was my favorite, we can simply click on that, and you'll notice that it pops up in here for us under titles, and there's a jitter effect. So you can really quickly and easily find the effects that you love and then simplify them into a nice favorites list as well. I'm just going to take that off and come back to where we were before. So as you can see, building your own titles and animating them in Davinci Resolve is totally doable and gives you really good results. However, if you're pushed for time or hate the idea of keyframing things or need something that looks more professional or is just beyond your Fusion skill set, then our friends at MotionVFX have some excellent solutions for you. MotionVFX have a huge catalogue of plugins for you to choose from. Whether you're looking for transitions or effects, titles or LUTs, there's almost certainly a pack for you. They even break them up into bundles to suit the type of work you're doing. So for example, I love M-Tutorial because I'm always creating education and tutorial content, and the tools within this pack allow me to work a lot faster than just doing everything from scratch. The other thing I love about MotionVFX is how they help you install and manage your plugins with their M Installer program. Here you can easily manage the plugins that you've installed, search for new packs, and install all of your plugins easily. Simply click and M Installer will have your plugin installed to the right path and folder so it's ready to use in Davinci Resolve right away. Let's just jump into Davinci Resolve quickly to show you how to use some of MotionVFX's packs to create titles and lower third content really easily. Right, so now that we have the MotionVFX packs and plugins installed, let me show you where to find them in Davinci Resolve itself. So first of all, it's in the effects panel as it was before. So you come up to effects. Now, depending on the pack you've installed, you may find that you have some of the elements of that pack in video transitions. You'll probably find that you have some in titles, you may have some in generators, and you'll have a few things in effect as well. So let's just look at titles for this particular example. So I'm going to twirl down titles by clicking on this little arrow, and I'll come down. I've got some other packs and some other folders I've already got managed, and I've also got my MotionVFX one here. So let me open that one, and you can see I've got all of these different fantastic MotionVFX plugins installed here. Now, one of the ones I want to really concentrate on today are the M Essentials and the M Tutorial packs, because I think these are really great packs. They've got lots of cool stuff involved in them, and particularly some of the titles are really nice as well. So let's look first of all at M Tutorial. I'm going to twirl that open. In fact, I'm going to click on it as well. In fact, what I can do to make it easier is I'm going to go to the search bar and just type in M Tutorial. And then as you can see here, I've got add-ons, I've got all sorts of fantastic add-ons, and if you roll over it, this is essentially a pack that helps you making tutorials, so you may well have seen some of these in these videos already. You've got some backgrounds, you've got some fantastic guides to use, you've got some really great stuff here, lower thirds, and this is one of the things I wanted to concentrate on here. So lower third title, very much like we're trying to build, and you can see there's a beautiful one that was pre-built for us, and we can use that one. There's some other parameters and some other things that we might want to try playing with. But let's use this one at the top because I think this one's quite nice. So let's grab this and drag it down onto our timeline. I can simply adjust the length of it to suit. And as you see, we've got one that comes in, needs a little bit of rendering depending on the machine that you're on. And then it just transitions off. Beautiful. So we've basically got half of the stuff already done for us. All we need to do is just customize it. So simply click it in the timeline and come up to the inspector. And as you can see, we've got some controls here that have opened up for us under the video tab, under title. We've got the same settings as we normally would, but we've also got these extra title controls. As you can see, we've got the in and the out, which refers to the animation on this particular preset. So in and out, so it's going to animate in and it's going to then animate away. If I wanted to take those off, I can simply turn them off like so. And as you can see, it stays on the screen the entire time. I would like to animate things in and out, so I'm going to have those turned on. Then we've got a whole range of other controls that we can play with. Just basic content controls, so I can reposition, scale and rotate if I'd like to. I can also affect the drop zone. So you notice here that I've got a little picture of a face waiting for me to drop in a picture of myself or maybe even the talent on screen in this case. So we put their photo in there potentially, but if we don't want to use it, we can simply turn that off. And then I can also use the content controls to reposition this as I'd like. There we go. So I can close the drop zone controls as I'm not going to be using them. Then in the title controls, I can simply change the name, like so. Scroll down, and I don't have to use a subtitle if I don't want to. I can simply turn it off. But you'll see there's lots of different controls here for me, which make this a real doddle when it comes to customizing things and makes it very quick indeed. There we go. So I quite like that. So that's really good. If I want to, I can change the font. Let's find something I quite like. Maybe something more like that. Let's change the subtitle bar to something more sort of on brand, something more like that. And I might want to just offset that ever so slightly. So maybe I'm just going to shuffle that over. Let's just put the text over as well so it sits more like that. And there you go. We've got a really nice little animated lower third that pops in. And then nicely animates away. And as you can see, we've got a whole range of other ways that we can just adjust and adapt this to suit our needs at any one time. And then the very cool thing about this is once you've then created that and you like the way it looks and you like the way this all works, if you want to use it again and again, you can simply open up your media pool and then you can simply take this created title and then drag it up into your media pool so that when you come to say another point where you need to put a name on it, maybe here, if you don't want to put a name on there, you can simply drag it back down into your composition and then away you go. Look at that. It's the same as this one and you can then simply alter the details and away you go. Really handy indeed. So you can see how quick that was. Just by having those packs available, I made that a real quick process. Let's have a look at another one real quick. And I want to look at the one that I said earlier was in M Essentials. So I'm going to type that in the search bar, come back to Toolbox, and I'm just going to close down my media pool. And as you can see, this M Essentials pack has some really other cool stuff that you can do. We've got some overlays, some blurs, some letterboxing. We've got some callouts, lots of great stuff indeed. And some intros, which I really like as well. And we'll be talking about those in another video coming up. You've got some arrows. You've got lots of cool extra little packs that just make the whole thing a real pleasure indeed. I like this one particularly because it's really great when it comes to calling out things in tutorials. I use, again, a mixture of different things for different packs and different processes depending on which one I'm working on. One of the things I wanted to come down to is look at some of these, and as you can see, you've got some other cool stuff here, little rolls, little transitions, and this is just even in the whole toolbox. But I'm going to come into the titles, I'm going to come down to MotionVFX, I'm going to come into M Essentials in particular, and I want to type on the typography. And in the typography one, we've got some really nice ones that I was thinking of using. So for example, this one here, I'm just going to drag this over, make it the length of my clip, and it plays in, and you can see similar scenario. We've got this one put in the right position. Now let me just show you how to put a picture in here if you'd like to. So we can come in here, we've got the text control, so we can change what we're doing here. We can completely customize this to our heart's content. And just for speed, I'm going to make it a little bit quicker. We can then again change the text to whatever we'd like it to say, or however we'd like it to look. Little top tip, if you're hovered over your fonts, once you're hovered over the fonts and the fonts are open, you can actually press up and down on your keyboard just to quickly cycle through. So let's say we like chalk duster in this occasion. We're going to put chalk duster in as the one that we want. We can also affect the line space, so you can move things around if we need to. We can just reposition things, there we go. We could actually even reposition it underneath if we really wanted to, but this one comes on top like that. And then we can again change things like the color, why not? Beautiful. Okay, so let's say we've made our adjustments here. Put the right name in. There we go. And we've done our text and we're happy with how the text looks. We might want to just maybe size it up a little bit, so we use our scale to do that. And we might want to just move it down a little to suit. There we go. Like something like so. And let's move it all over using the content controls like that. Wonderful. So now we're done with those. We want to look at this logo. So now you can put anything in here. It can be, as you say, a logo, maybe his brand logo could go in here, or you could put in a picture as well. So let's just find something to put in here. In this case, as I say, it is a logo. So let me find one of my logos that we've been using, something like that one. There we go. Hit open. As you can see, my logo opens in here. I need to change a few settings though to make it make sense. So inside, we can actually change the scale. Let's just scale it back. Maybe not the best choice on this one particularly, but I can now just reposition things. And again, that might be his brand logo there that I want to just include in the logo. And as you can see, that animates in nicely. Needs to just sometimes render, and then we can put that through and play it nicely. And there we go. We've got another lower third very quickly created, and with a bit of little extra tweaking and attention, we can make that look really nice, but without having to worry about any of the attention to keyframes and things like that. And as I mentioned, the nice thing is here, we can also just quickly adjust it if we need to, and it will still all animate out as expected. And again, I can simply press down the alter option button and drag it around, and I can create another one over here that looks exactly the same, but it's a completely new instance. So when I start now amending this one, for example, maybe I've just put something else here. For example, I've got new text there, and then you can see the two are not linked, they're independent clips now. So I can now play with this, multiply, duplicate, and make it really easy indeed. The one small downside, kind of as I've mentioned as we've been going along, with using MotionVFX packs is they do tend to sometimes affect system performance. Not all the time. I must say the ones from MotionVFX are generally very good indeed, but you can sometimes find, especially if you're on a slower machine, that these will need some time to render and, or maybe even cache into your system so that they play back nice and smoothly. Now that can obviously be a slight problem, which is also why sometimes, depending on the type of project you're working on and your deadlines, you might just want to use those basic built-in titles that Davinci Resolve already provides you, or you might want to come to these fantastic pre-built presets by MotionVFX, and they're very good indeed. And there's a description link in the description down below that will help you get some money off your first purchase. And if you use the link, you're also massively helping the channel. So there you have it. I hope this video has given you some insight into how you can create titles, and in particular lower third titles, for your video content in Davinci Resolve. Whether you choose to make them yourself or have MotionVFX do all of the hard work for you, you now have the knowledge you need to take your videos to that next level. In the description below, there is a link for you to check out MotionVFX, and they've kindly offered anyone using my link a small discount on their first purchase. Thank you so much indeed to the team at MotionVFX for supporting the channel. All that's left to say is a huge thank you for watching this video, and I hope you took away some value. As always, please remember to like and subscribe, as it really supports the channel, and it means that other people just like yourself will find my videos, and then I can keep making new content for you all to enjoy. Okay, that's enough from me. Thanks so much indeed. Until we see each other next, happy editing, and I'm going to catch you in the next one. Bye for now.